again. This is for Nerdy Minds Magazine.
Cool.
It's a website. It's nerdymindsmagazine.com. You can find it.
Cool.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, and then they collected a couple of fan questions.
Sweet.
I only have a few, so I'll start with those, and then we'll move on to like what people have sent in. So,
sure.
My first question is, how did you get into voice acting?
Sort of by accident. What happened initially was I was a theater kid. I was 7 years old in St. Louis, Missouri. Just really loved like performing in front of people and doing that whole thing. Kind of got addicted to it. And I ended up moving to LA for film and television acting when I was 9, turning 10. And voiceover sort of came a little later. I got some auditions from my agent, got a good response, and then I ended up booking this radio show called Adventures in Odyssey, just by chance, and I ended up working on it for 5 years and got a lot of on-the-job training. So just a couple of lucky breaks in a row, really.
So you mentioned working on film and television projects in the past. Can you tell us about any of those that you worked on? How is that different from working in voiceover?
Yeah, it was, that's what kept me working at first for a while, and then, I did Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader when I started out, when I was actually in 5th grade. Hannah Montana, I'm in the band for Disney and Disney XD. And then later on, I stopped working on camera for a while, and I just did voiceover. And then as I got older, I did guest spots on NCIS LA, Fresh Off the Boat, Henry Danger, and then my credit from earlier this year was just Ed Magic for Amazon. I played their villain for the season it's a really cute kids show about magical cooking.
Cool.
And I was a time-traveling, 60s greaser who ruined other plans. Yeah, but it's definitely a different experience from working in voiceover. It's very, the studio environment for voiceover is very relaxed. Like an on-set thing, usually, a good set is relaxed, but it takes a lot to make a set relaxed. But organization-wise, it's like you can't waste anyone's time because there's so many moving parts. And it really is a similar skill set. There is some overlap, but it's a different thing, acting in front of a camera and having facial expressions, body language all available to you when voiceover is concentrated into one medium.
Yeah.
And you have to be really sharp on that one thing.
Cool. I know I've heard other voice actors talk about things that they like to have in the booth that help them relax, or tea for their voice, or help them. Is there anything that you like to have in the booth when you're recording that helps you get in the mindset or helps you be comfortable or relaxed?
I guess my trinket would be my tea. I just always have tea with me.
What kind of tea?
That's the beauty of tea. It's what suits the moment. If I need energy, because I usually do at 9 in the morning at Cartoon Network, it's green tea. If I'm nervous about a session, it's chamomile. Sometimes I switch it up and have Earl Grey. Ooh. Yeah. Rooibos is my favorite.
Getting crazy.
That's an anytime tea.
So my next question is, what do you and the character of Steven Universe have in common?
We used to have a lot more in common. I feel like when I was 14 and I started the show, I was basically Steven. I had his same awesome attitude about
You're
everything.
A jaded adult now.
Yeah, I'm definitely more cynical, and I feel like because we've grown up together in such close quarters, there are a lot of similarities in our story of how we've had a lot of additional responsibility placed on our shoulders than most kids have at a certain age, and I definitely relate to him in that way. I feel like because I spent my adolescence playing a very positive person, I feel like I almost subconsciously went the other way and became somewhat cynical, and just in my sense of humor, not in a negative way. But just in the way I present my jokes and present myself. Steven lives in here, but I always say he's the angel on my shoulder. Steven is the kid in me to this day. I'm a lot more cynical than Steven in real life. Not to a fault. It's just how I've ended up, I guess.
So, having grown up playing this character who is also growing up on the show, so you said that he's influenced you. Is there a way that you have influenced the growth of the character, or in any way?
Yeah, it's my job to sort of guide it along with the writers. They give me a lot of food to work with. I call it actor candy, actor food. Every script we get has some sort of nugget of brilliance to work with, which I don't get on every show. But yeah, the thing about Steven's arc, growing up and coming into that responsibility, is all I had to do is take the real part of that for me in my life and just project it into a character. It's an acting technique substitution where you just substitute your own experience for whatever the character's experiencing or something similar to convey that emotion. So if you have to play a sad scene, just as an example, you would think of something, a personal memory from your life that made you feel that way. This was a lot subtler because I didn't realize it was happening at the time until a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I realized that we were so similar and had this similar arc in life. I think it helped play the character, especially down the line as he became a little more complicated in his mental state as he grew up and learned more.
Interesting. So my last question for you. Do you have anything going on besides Steven Universe? Do you have any other projects that you can talk about?
Why, yes.
Talk about?
As a matter of fact. So yeah, this year I've been really busy working on a few things. I'm starting a YouTube channel. That's the first thing. I'm going to be doing a lot of like cover videos on there, some surrealist comedy to just have fun and goof around and sort of parody the YouTube format. And then along with that, I'm doing a sketch show called the Zach Callison Show, which is it's like a short format. It's basically a sketch show about a sketch show being made, where you follow like my struggle to actually make the show, but you don't see everything. You just sort of see like me being beaten down by Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like a departure for me, image-wise, because it's very edgy, out there, raunchy. But that's Zach's sense of humor.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to put out there for that show. But we're really trying to make something that's special to us. And then the other thing is my music. I'm really, really stoked to have some songs out later this year. I've been working on them for quite a while. I really took my time with it because I was trying to cultivate an original sound that's new, that's fresh, that's not going to be, bubblegum pop type stuff. And I'd been approached so many times over the years, like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should be in this boy band. I was like, nope, not ready. And now it's like, I finally feel like I have the words to sing and things to write about, and it's definitely, that's a departure for me as well, image-wise.
Who would you say are your influences, music-wise?
Closest to what I'm doing now, Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance, 21 Pilots, I went there, Fall Out Boy, Muse, that,
Interesting.
Like rock alternative type stuff. That's my inspiration for it, and we're going with theatrical alternative. That's like, it's musical theater inspired, like very dramatic, like there's not a lot of relaxed notes, it builds a lot, there's a lot of crescendos in the music, so yeah, I'm excited about that.
So we'll get into the fan questions here.
Cool.
The first one is very broad, maybe a heavy question. This is from Devin T.
Okay.
What's it like playing a TV character loved by people everywhere?
That's not heavy at all. That's a nice question. It's definitely like, it's humbling in a lot of ways, just to see our fandom do what they do and, be inspired to make all this amazing art and tell us their stories. A lot of people talk about how the show has been a positive influence on them, and that's always amazing. It's also very intimidating. It is pressure. I feel the need to be at my absolute best to make the show as good as I can when I'm in the studio, to do Rebecca's vision justice, because I fully believe in that, and to do the fans a service by letting the show stay as consistent as it can.
Cool. So the next one is kind of a two-part question. It says, how did you feel about the idea of the show before you started working on it, and then how did you feel when they asked you to join them?
When I saw it, I definitely thought it was quirky and offbeat, which excited me. I always love anything that's a little bit off-center. And it didn't really strike me, obviously in the pilot, like it didn't at all show what kind of show it was going to be down the line,
right.
and the messages it would talk about and the narrative themes and how really deep it would get. But it was a really fun, quirky, colorful cartoon, and that was very exciting to me alone in the beginning, and then it became so much more.
Yeah.
But the vision of what I knew Steven Universe as when I started and what I knew Steven Universe as in season 2 and 3, like completely different.
Are there any other ways that your perception of the show changed from like when you started working on it to where it is now? Because it's certainly like taken on a lot more like weight, like you said, than
right.
kind of the first couple episodes revealed.
The difference between the beginning and the later seasons. For me, like playing Steven is a lot different than it was. I was just being an animated kid version of myself back then. Not really, putting any thoughts to stuff like motivation or past history. But there's so much now, and I've grown a lot as an actor because of the show and while I've been on the show, that my approach to playing Steven is a hell of a lot different now, which I'm grateful for. It's been a huge lesson for me as an actor, and to be able to spend this amount of time with a character has taught me a lot about, method of getting into a character.
Cool. So the next question is, Joseph R. wants to know, Why hasn't Steven asked any questions about bismuth? And another person along the same lines asked, how come Steven doesn't ask the questions he should be asking? Example, WTF is going on kind of thing.
I think Steven knows that those kind of questions tend to rock the boat a little bit. And also, he, in the past, has not gotten the full truth.
Yeah.
He feels like he needs to discover a lot of it on his own now. With bismuth, I mean, he discovered a lot in a very short amount of time at the end of that episode, and it was one of those things that I think was a little traumatizing for him, and that might be the reason he's not asking about it. It's one of those things that, you know, everything happens so fast, and there's also so much more going on now that, like, there hasn't really been time for him to breathe. Like, at the beginning of the show, like, something would happen, and the gems would teach him about it. Now it's all coming, like, bam, 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 one after the other, and there really hasn't been time for him to be a kid and just, you know, learn about what's around him and what his purpose is, which I think is confusing him a lot in, you know, his growing up arc.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that are out of bounds.
Okay, great.
And
my favorite.
I want you to make up the most ridiculous wrong answer that you can think of.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is, who was Pink Diamond?
Lars, obviously. It's been revealed in the last episode. I mean,
all right. Why has no one mentioned White Diamond?
Because that's the name of a ski resort in Colorado, and that's crazy.
What happens if Lars goes into Lion's Mane?
It's like dividing by zero. We don't really know. It's a good question. No one really knows.
Who shattered Pink Diamond? Can you tell us?
Rebecca Sugar.
Not false, I suppose.
It's totally true.
Yeah. All right. Oh, someone said, what do you think would be the funniest ways to get the off-colors home? Which I guess they're talking about
all the new gems.
Yeah. To Earth, right? Because they're technically home now, I think.
It would have to do, is fluorite the big one? I think fluorite's the big one. It would have to do with, like, all of them riding this giant worm through space and somehow, like, landing into the Earth like an apple. And just randomly showing up at the gems doorsteps, like, what?
Yeah.
What are you?
Do you have any additional things that you want to say, or any final comments? All the spoilers? All the spoilers.
Hey, I'm Zach Callison, the voice of Steven Universe, and I've got a nerdy mind.